Welcome back, everyone. It's been a little while since I put out a video because we've been busy over Christmas and everything. But I wanted to just go back to my series I've been doing on why I am not a Calvinist. And just today, I want to do something really simple. It's not so much anti Calvinism or pro anything else, but I just want to explain a little bit about some of the soteriological views that people have. Soteriology, of course, is the study of salvation. And I made this graphic just to show you to see if it'll help a little bit about different soteriological views. And it sets out three different ones. I'm going to start with Calvinism, and then Arminianism, and then what I'm going to call biblical salvation. And of course, there's obvious bias there because I don't subscribe to either Calvinism or Arminianism. I just want to look at what the Bible says, and I think it is neither of those. It's somewhere in between them. But I just wanted to show this to you to give you a little bit of understanding because maybe it's a little bit newer to you and you don't really completely understand. So maybe this will help a little bit. But we have different soteriological views here. And you can see we're going to start here at the top with Calvinism, okay? And it starts with total depravity. Now, you notice both Calvinism and Arminianism begin with total depravity. And that's, if you understand Calvinism, they have the TULIP. And that's the first aspect of it, total depravity. And basically, and I'm not going to go into great detail here, but basically the idea is that man is so depraved that he cannot receive God without some supernatural work in his life. Totally depraved. Doesn't mean he can't do anything wrong. Calvinists or Arminians don't necessarily say that, but they say you can't come to God on your own. And under Calvinism, God has to save you, has to regenerate you, and then you believe. In Arminianism, it's a little bit different. But under it starts with total depravity, okay? And then what happens, you see the next is election. God elects somebody who he wants to elect. And there's a whole lot in it too about when he elects them and everything. Again, we're not getting all those details today. But they start with total depravity, and then you have election, and that election causes God then to regenerate the person. So you follow the line here. Total depravity, election causes God to regenerate that person, which means to give them new life, which that regeneration then causes faith. So it's not like you become saved and then you have a new life, or you believe and then you have a new life. God saves you, he regenerates you, which then causes you to believe. And then at the end, you have perseverance. That's not necessarily the same as eternal security, but it just basically the idea that those who God chose are going to persevere in faith all the way till the end. Okay, that's just a quick nutshell. Now, the next one, Arminianism, is kind of on the other end of the spectrum. It also begins with total depravity. Both Calvinists and Arminians believe in total depravity. You can't do anything. And now, of course, even what I would call biblical salvation, I don't say that to put the other ones down. It's just I don't, some people use the term provisionist. That kind of goes along with that, but I'm just going to call it biblical salvation. Okay. I could have call it Ben's opinion there too, but I just think it's right. So Arminianism also begins with total depravity. You can't do anything. But then the next in the line is what is called prevenient grace. And maybe I'll do a whole video on prevenient grace sometime. Prevenient grace is basically, the definition is it's grace that goes before something. So before you can ever put your faith in Jesus, there has to be some kind of special grace. Now, this gets to be a gray area because everyone believes there has to be the gospel. In fact, you'll even see, to skip ahead down to the bottom line there, gospel. I believe the gospel has to be there, but they would say more than that. God doing specific things in your life, not to show you about the gospel, but to make it possible for you to accept the gospel. See, there's a difference because both Calvinism and Arminianism believe in total depravity. You can't do anything. And it's not like what I was beginning to say there under what I believe that, I can do something to contribute to salvation. That's not the point at all. But they're saying God has to change something within you to make it even possible to respond. So they would say there's prevenient grace. There's something that God does in your life, maybe many things, that then enables you to have faith. Okay? Not just tells you about faith so you can choose to accept it, but it has to enable you to have faith. And when you are now enabled to have faith through prevenient grace, that faith will cause regeneration. Okay, so they have a different order than the Calvinists. Calvinists say God regenerates you and then you believe. The Arminians say, well, you believe and then you are regenerated, but it goes back to this prevenient grace that makes it able for you to do that. And then on the end, of course, the Calvinists believe you can forfeit your salvation. I'm sorry, the Arminians believe that you can forfeit your salvation. So go down to the last one that I'm calling biblical salvation. Again, not to make the other ones look bad. I think it's better, more along the lines with what is actually in the Bible. It begins with corruption of nature. And that's different than total depravity because it really goes back to the whole definition of original sin. What is your definition of original sin? And I think the best definition there would be that we are corrupted. And we can argue, even people who are not Calvinists, Arminians can, can fight and argue about what exactly is original sin. And is it even a thing? But at very least, we believe that we have been corrupted. Either we start off, where we can't do anything, that's total depravity, or maybe we start off with the ability that we can actually respond to the allure of the gospel, which is what I think is right. So I don't buy into total depravity, but I believe we are corrupted by nature, and because of that corruption, we cannot access God. Yet we can respond to his gospel message, which is not a work, and it's not a spark of good in us. It's just responding to something good that God has done for us. So it starts with corruption of nature, and then we have the gospel. We cannot be saved without hearing the gospel. We have the gospel, and the gospel, when we listen to it, we hear it, it leads to faith. It doesn't necessarily enable faith, but it leads to faith. We hear the gospel and you say, wow, that's great news, because I realize that I cannot do this on my own. I need Jesus to do it for me. The gospel is the good news of Jesus Christ. So our corruption of our nature, gospel, which leads to faith. That faith, when we actually believe, when we have faith, that causes regeneration. See, in that sense, it's the same as the Arminians order, because they believe faith causes regeneration. I believe faith causes regeneration also. The Calvinists, you can see, have that different. They believe regeneration causes faith. That's a huge difference in soteriological views. And then eternal security is at the end. If you are truly a believer, you always will be a believer. I don't believe that you can lose it. So that is just a very quick synopsis of the difference between the soteriological views. And obviously there's a whole lot more. And I want to start more of my videos about why I'm not a Calvinist and go deeper into it and look at Bible passages and things, not to beat up on Calvinists. There's a lot of great Calvinists out there. I just think they're wrong in this section or in this part of their soteriology. And so we're going to talk about that. If you have any comments on it, let me know. If there's something specific you'd like to hear about, let me know about that too. I find this captivating, but hopefully that little graphic there will help you out, and just to understand a little better what is the major difference between them. And I also want to make a video soon on why do we even talk about this? What's the big deal? Why do we want to talk about the difference between Calvinism and Arminianism and whatever's in between? Okay, so hope you stay with me on that. I'll see you later. Happy New Year and God bless.